A couple of years down the road, you're perusing the internet,
Nice.
sort of a lazy Sunday, right? You find yourself on Craigslist and you're looking through like the free stuff, just seeing what people are giving away. Just a little out of curiosity. What's out there to be had? That's what you think.
I think what's out there to be had.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a post on the Craigslist page that says, to save my marriage.
What?
You click on it. The poster writes, my wife and I have been through a lot, but there's
Okay.
nobody else I'd rather be with. To save my marriage, I'm giving up some of my most prized possessions so that we can travel the world and I can focus all of my affection towards her.
Whoa. It's kind of intense.
Yeah, he says, I've already given up any video game system. I gave away my guitar. I had a kit car that I was working on in the garage. That's gone.
Wow.
He says, the last thing to go of my prized possessions is this. And it's just boxes of comic books,
Oh shit.
right? He said, I have over 300 boxes filled, every one of them, totally free. You just got to take them all. He said, I'm not going to get into what's in there. He goes, there's some good stuff, there's some garbage stuff. He goes, hell, there's even some of my own stuff in there.
Really? Who's the person? Is he like a famous
He doesn't, he's not going to put his name, doesn't put his name. But you're like, catches, we got to take them all. I want one person in, one person out. He says, will not deliver. If this post is still up, they're still here.
let's go.
So you think like, let's go. You send the guy an email. He emails you back, you exchange phone numbers, you sort of set up, you're like, yeah, I'll come take every one of them. Yeah, and you're like, I'm gonna rent a U-Haul truck
Yeah, I
to
was
like
yeah.
come pack,
Because there's how
300 of
many?
them.
Yeah, that's
300.
wild.
300 long boxes.
That is incredible. I would love that. Oh man.
And excuse me, you even kind of mentioned like, yeah, you said some of your own stuff. He's like, would I know you from anything? And he says, oh no. He goes, I dabbled when I was younger, and any attempt for me to be a famous artist were lost many, many moons ago. He goes, but I'll put it in there just in case.
Okay.
So you go to Home Depot, right? They've got like U-Haul trucks and shit there. You talk to the U-Haul guy, you put your fucking license down, you're renting this thing for like $20 a day or whatever. Get behind the wheel of the U-Haul, leave your car parked in the Home Depot parking lot. You tell them, you're like, hey, I'm just gonna go get a bunch of stuff and then I'm bringing this back. I'm not gonna have this long, I'm just gonna leave my car here. They're like, yeah, that's fine. Whatever. Leave it at your own risk.
Are they saying that because that's just the generic line, or has there been issues in that parking lot?
There's like a bunch of cats that live in like a culvert sort of near the Home Depot. And if
Yeah.
there's a car that's like left unattended, eventually they will like crawl on it. It happens with all the employees. It happens with anybody who's in there really, working on like some serious shit. It happens to people who leave their cars there while they use the rental trucks to go accomplish a task.
Do the
So the guy
cats
be at what's that?
like do they like damage the car? I don't understand why that would be.
Um, so you'll like definitely have like paw prints all over your car, and like this is there's been like 12 reported cases of this,
Hmm.
And one time a tire was slashed, and another time there was a long set of scratches along the driver's side door, very low to the ground,
Whoa.
like five claws digging into the fucking paint.
Okay, I'd probably
So
park my
yeah,
car
well,
somewhere else then.
I mean it's a big parking lot, you know, and then like you're gonna rent this truck, and then you're gonna have to like return it to the Home Depot, and then you're gonna go walk to somewhere else to park your car. Like, you know, the logistics of it still make a lot of sense. So you park your car in the Home Depot parking lot.
Oh man.
You're like, it's cats, you know. What cats are gonna slash my tire, you know?
I mean, it seems like they're fully capable of doing so.
Well, you ask the guy, you're like, wait, the scratch thing, whatever. I mean, that's a cat could have like got, you know, that sounds like a wives' tale, but a cat could have scratched something. It could have been in a fight with another cat. You never know. You know, but the tire, and then the guy goes, I swear to God, there was a cut in the tire. They had to
Jeez.
have used a blade. And he kind of looks back and forth just to make sure nobody's coming. And he leans over, he goes, and anytime you ask anybody about it, they tell you to shut your mouth or you'll be stuck in rental forever. He
Whoa.
goes, I'm trying to get to plumbing in 6 months.
All right. Well, I appreciate you telling me,
He goes,
some of that.
plumbing's the easiest gig. Way worse, way better than rentals.
Yeah.
He goes, oh yeah.
Okay.
He goes, everybody knows that, you fucking idiot.
Okay. What?
And
I
you're
would
and
never even
he's
think of
like,
that.
I'm sorry, man. He goes, I just don't think I'm come out cut out for plumbing. I'm gonna be in rentals till I fucking die. He gives you the keys to the truck, right?
Oh my God.
You
Poor
go,
guy.
you go to the house, sort of like a nondescript little ranch style house out in southwest of Austin, out that way. Like you drive through Bee Cave, you know, you're on that highway that runs out there. You wind your way down south, you pull up to a again, nondescript, just little ranch house. It's got like a little car, it's got a carport, a two-car carport. You can see through the carport in the backyard, there's a little shed out there. You see a guy sort of walking through the backyard to the shed. He sees you, he kind of like waves at you, you pull in.
I wave back.
You wave back. You pull the nose of that fucking truck in. He says, "Pat," and you go, "Uh, James." And he's like, "Yeah." You guys, you get out of the truck, shake his hand. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. He goes, "Man, you're really you're doing." He goes, "You by yourself?" And you're like, "Yeah." Couldn't get anybody on short notice, and I wanted to make sure I was able to get these out of your hair. He goes, oh, "I don't mind helping you. A lot of good memories in these boxes."
Oh, thanks. So you guys are gonna like travel the world? Is that what the post said?
He goes, yeah, you know, it's just I spent my life doing other things instead of focusing on the people around me. And I want to get rid of any distraction. And he leans in, he goes, I've been married for 35 years to an amazing woman. And, you know, I'm getting older. Don't have a lot of time left because I'm at a point where I realize that all these possessions are meaningless and the time is the only really valuable thing you have. He goes, I know it sounds trite and it's on the nose, but that's the truth. I've gotten rid of everything over the last year, and these were the last to go. He goes, what's your favorite comic book memory?
Hmm. Probably just reading them to my niece and nephew. They really like um what's his name? Franklin Richards, son of a genius.
He said, you know, I've read to my niece and nephew as well.
Cool.
Because that's what it's really all about, not just having these things in these boxes, is about what you do with them. He goes, I hope you get as much joy out of them as I have. It's
Thank you, man.
like a hot day in Texas, right? It takes you a little while, and these things aren't light, you know. You haul 300 of these boxes out of the shed into the U-Haul. You got like a little dolly. You take them up there like three at a time, up a ramp. You lean them up against the wall. You kind of open the box and just kind of smell it, you know, and it's got like a certain smell to it. You run your fingers along the little flaps of plastic from the bags that stick out. They're all bagged and boarded. There's a few of them that are in like hard cases, maybe some collector things. You don't dare look. Not now, anyways.
Sure.
You takes you guys a little while to do it, and James helps you the whole time. He works hard for an older guy, you know. You load
Cool.
up you load up all the boxes, you slide the door shut, you latch it, and you go to shake his hand. He goes, "Man, that was a lot of work." He goes, "You want something to drink before you go?"
Sure.
He goes, "Come on in." So you guys kind of go into the house. He goes, "Oh, I got one more box for you." He goes, "This is all the stuff that I made.
Oh,
These were
yeah.
my." He goes, "These were my comics." um, his comics were about a guy and his cat, and his cat was like this fucking fat orange cat, right?
Okay.
And the main character's name was Don Beltbuckle, and he always had like a big belt buckle on, and it would change. It would like change with every single strip. That was like a bit, you know.
Okay.
And it was just about him and his cat. His cat hated Tuesdays, and his logic
Really?
was kind of sound. He says he said in one panel, which James thought would be groundbreaking. Uh, his fat orange cat named Cartwheel, and his name was
Cartwheel.
Cartwheel. Yeah, and
Cartwheel the cat.
he was like, you know, John. Sorry, Don. My apologies. It's Don Belt Buckle. Don came in and was like, "Oh man, I hate going to work on Mondays." And he's like, and Cartwheel was like, "Why? Tuesdays are the worst day." Don was like, "What are you talking about?" And this like thing, this he had like this whole fully fleshed out idea of like, no, Sunday, Mondays are the days you reintroduce yourself. That's what you talk about your weekend. It's a recap of everything that the last week was building up to. He goes, you shouldn't dread going in to see those people again. You get to brag about the stuff you did. He goes, now Tuesday, you got nothing to brag about. And the weekend is even further away than it's ever going to be from this point because it's miserable, right? He's a pretty miserable cat. The only thing he loves is spaghetti.
Yeah.
Yeah. And spaghetti with like a couple of big fucking cartoon meatballs on it, you know. And he wrote like there's like 50 like weeklies in there, you know. He did a whole thing.
Wow.
And you're kind of like looking at me his cartwheel. It's just a fat orange cat, you know.
Yeah.
And Don belt buckle,
Don
the
Belt
belt again
Buckle.
again the belt buckle that he's wearing in the comic changes every week.
That's a lot of
And
belt buckles to have to draw.
yeah, and they're fucking good, you know. It's a very similar art style to, you know, some of the other more popular comics of the time. I don't know. You probably know him. I'm not a big comic book guy. Maybe
Okay.
some of the stuff that you find in the Sunday paper, that kind of thing.
Sure.
And you go, this is clearly Garfield, right? And he's like, yeah, tell that motherfucker Jim Davis. He goes, I put
What?
these out 5 years before he ever did. He goes, he stole Cartwheel and made Garfield.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you have proof of that?
He goes, No, I mean, like I made these on my own. Like these were for me. I couldn't prove anything.
Oh,
It was,
so like
but
they want published?
he, he was, well, there was a very small run through a friend's publishing house. He made like 20 of each, right? And yeah, they got around to like our group of friends and they circulated like, but it was very, very underground. Like nobody knew about it. Nobody gave a shit. It was about a guy and his cat. Nobody cared.
But he clearly stole all this from you.
He goes, yeah, but I can't prove any of it.
Weird. Cartwheel.
Cartwheel. So he was
What
like,
a
whatever.
bummer.
He goes, that was a lifetime ago anyhow. I've moved on to other things. He goes, so I want you to look at this and this will just be between you and me, I guess. You go to leave his house, you look above the mantle, there's a big fucking fat orange cat and it's stuffed and it's got like its arms and its legs like splayed out and it's rotating and like it's constantly doing a cartwheel, right? And uh but it's a clock. So depending upon the hour, it'll have a certain number of claws out. And then whatever direction his face is pointing up at is like the minute.
Okay.
And you look up and you go, "Is that?" And he goes, "The one and only."
How does he do 12 or 11?
He has more claws than a normal cat, just for the clock purposes.
Okay, that is really
Yeah,
weird.
yeah, just for the
That
clock
is
purposes.
surreal. All right, that's crazy to picture.
So the cat's it's just rotating on the top of the hour. It meows meow for 1 o'clock, meow meow 2 o'clock,
It's a,
etc.
it's a good meow.
This is a pretty good meow, right?
Yeah, it's pretty good. I couldn't do it.
So you walk out of there feeling like this connection to this guy, James, and you go home, you unload the comics, right? It takes you like by the time you get done, it's dark, you know,
Yeah,
but you
I
get
would
them
probably have
inside.
I'd have to get like a storage unit or something. 300?
Yeah, well, you move them into your house. Like they're in your living room essentially at the moment,
Oh, okay.
just so you can like take the truck back because you're not going to get billed for another day at Home Depot, and you got to find out what the fuck is going on with your car. Like
Right. The cats.
so
I forgot about them and all the excitement.
you you load everything in, you take the truck back, you get your car is just covered in paw prints, you know,
Oh man.
covered in them.
We can wash those
But
off.
yeah, there's no like damage or anything.
Yeah, that's not too bad.
Yeah. So you drive back
Fucking
home,
cats.
right?
Man.
Yeah, they are everywhere. But as you like drive away, like you get like just out of view of the Home Depot and there is like a fire in their parking lot and you see like wisps of smoke as you kind of like look back in your rear view, you're like, what? Some guy's Chevy Blazer burns to the fucking ground. A fire chief shows up, stands over the ashes of that American made Blazer. He kind of like walks through the parking lot, takes his flashlight out. He makes his way down and he shines it right into that culvert. It's too narrow for him to get inside, but he just puts his mouth to it and he goes, "You guys do this again. I'm coming for you." And he gets up and walks away.
Okay.
So you go home, you go through the comics, right? You sort out a bunch of stuff. There's like a bunch of valuable things in there.
Oh wow.
There's some golden age stuff. Um, it's all in like pristine condition. There's one that is it's a one of one. It's a it's a Thor comic where it's like Thor standing on he's like on the cover and there's like space behind him and it's like a famous like the guy who the artist who did it, he made two different covers. He made one where Thor's like standing with his hands on his hips, his hair's blowing behind him. And then he made another one where he's like jacking off. He's like got his erect
What?
penis out and he's
Why?
pleasuring himself. And they accidentally got one of those out there because the guy he came to like his boss and he's like, here you go, sir. And he showed him the one with Thor jacking off or Thor with like a huge dick on the cover. And the guy's like,
Yeah.
what? And then he goes, just joking. And he gave it to him both anyways. And
Oh,
then it
that's
just
funny. They
got
fucked
out of
up.
his
Oh
hands.
man.
Yeah, yeah,
And I
yeah. And
have
then
that now?
you have that now? Yeah,
Oh my gosh. I take a picture of it immediately. I probably text it to you actually.
yeah.
Yeah.
I go, that's fucking weird. Look at that dick. That's what I say. So you go through everything, and there's like you're gonna sell some of this stuff. You don't have because you don't have room for it.
Yeah.
You're gonna sell some stuff. But there's a lot of stuff you're gonna keep, you know. You spend the next few days like cataloging what you have, just going through. You have a spreadsheet. Everything is like in order. It's all neat. It's all in like excellent condition. Everything you've got. You spend a few days doing that, and then you get to the box of his own work. You pull out
Cartwheel.
cart. You pull out cartwheel number one, right?
Is it any good, by the way?
It's fucking great.
Really?
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, yeah. Don Arbuckle,
Okay.
like
Don Arbuckle.
it's kind of like it's almost it's not like so true to the original or pardon me to the that fucking rip off Garfield. Like originally John is like he's like a doofus. He's like a dummy,
Yeah.
and Garfield is this witty brain that's like stuck in a body that doesn't match his intellect, you know. And he always
That is
he
such a
may
weird way to describe Garfield.
he makes all these like big grandstanding points just
That
to
is
like
so insane.
disprove John or pardon me Don. I don't know why I keep screwing it up. It's Don Belt Buckle,
Don Belt
but it's
Buckle.
pretty fucking good. It's pretty
Okay.
good, and you read all of them over the course of a few days, and you really enjoy them. You send you said James an email and you're like, hey man, just wanted to say thanks again. It was nice meeting you. Because by the way, I read all of Cartwheel, like so I burned through it because it was so good. And he sent you a message back. He goes, oh yeah, I had a really good time writing those. He goes, of course I wish things would have turned out differently, LOL.
Yeah, I can see that.
So you and James sort of like maintain like a casual friendship, right? You talk to each other a few times a year, you know, that sort of thing.
Okay.
And one day he
How
he
much?
get he,
Hey, real quick, I'm sorry to interrupt,
yeah.
but how much money do I get for selling all this stuff?
So you sold you made $109,000 with
Whoa.
everything you sold off, right? And they wrote you like a big check from like the place, and you went outside and there was like a really windy day and you were holding onto this check and it like took you and you got plastered up against the Empire State Building and your check just fucking flew away. It flew away into the Hudson and just dissolved. And they had to
Jeez.
call like rescue people to come get you down.
Oh my gosh.
So you really don't have anything to show for it.
Wait, hold
Um,
on. So I can't, they gave so the actual check was that giant check. It wasn't a
yeah, yeah.
ceremonial thing. Well, I would just get a new check issued.
They were like, no, we're not writing a. They're like, do you know how expensive these big checks are?
Write a normal size check, dude.
They go, we can't.
A
This is all
normal
that we
size
have.
check.
Their office staff is very thrifty. And they're like, we're not ordering new checks until we go through all the other old checks. And they're like, all we have are big checks. And they're like, okay, let us know when you're done and we'll order new checks.
How is that thrifty?
The guy's like, my check budget is zero for this month. I can't order you a new check. I'm sorry.
What about next month?
He laughs. He goes, brother, there's no new checks coming.
Okay,
We have so many big checks.
I'm gonna sue these guys. Not only are they not giving me a check, but their check caused me to get blown into the Empire State Building and they had to rescue me. I'm going to
Yeah.
sue these guys.
You talk to several lawyers and they're all like, Pat, you don't have a case for this. They paid you in full. What happens with the check once it's in your possession is you on you. They go, look, you could have taken, they had one normal size check left. And they said it'll cost you a $3 processing fee if it's a normal size check, or it's a free big check. And you're like, give me the free big check.
Well, I
I don't
would,
want to give
yeah, I
you
would, yeah.
$108,997. I don't want to take that from you. He's like, you're like, I want the cool 109. I want 109 large.
I think I
So you
probably
don't have
would
anything to
like,
show.
yeah, I would like one a giant check. I think that would be kind of cool. But I
Yeah.
cannot,
And
but this is the most ridiculous.
you had it
Uh
for just a split second. We could be heroes. You know, you hear that song play when you're holding that big fucking check
for just one day.
for just one day. So you're hanging out, right? You get an email out of the blue one day. It's James. And you haven't heard from him for a couple months, but usually you guys see each other, once a summer, you'll go hang out, you'll barbecue, you'll have a fucking steak, go for a dip in his pool.
Does he still draw?
Yeah, he still draws.
I'd probably
You
ask him to
go,
draw something for me. I think that'd be kind of
well,
cool.
you go to you're kind of hanging out and um you asked him like, I would love to see you do more cartwheel. Like, what are they gonna do at this point? You can make your own thing. You've already like tried to talk to him about this. And you get an email from him and he's like, hey Pat, so sorry to bother you. He's my wife and I were on vacation, right? We're going to Cancun. He's like, we're in Cancun, and I think I left the lights on in my drawing studio. He goes, she's gonna be pissed if the electric bill is like anything by the time we get back. And I really don't want to hear it. Would you mind going and checking? He says that there's a
Yeah,
key
sure.
under the false rock by the azalea bush.
The false rock by the azalea bush. Got it.
You go over there, you find the false rock. It feels light in your hand, especially from the way it looks. You pop out the key, you go into his studio, and yeah, the lights are on. And you see that he's been like drawing again. And he's been like producing new cartwheel content.
Really?
And he has a couple things put together. It's fucking great. It's so good. It like takes a shot at Garfield.
Really? What does it say?
It says, well, I guess there's only room for the fat cats in this business. And he like turns to the next panel and he goes, well, one of them, anyhow.
Whoa, that is a shot across the bow.
The next panel shows Don belt buckle like leaning down, looking into the same frame, right? Like he's in on it.
Yeah.
So you're reading this stuff and it's so good. It's so fucking good, right? You you grab a couple of the you're like, I want to read these. He's not gonna have a problem, right? So you grab the ones that are there. You walk out, you send him an email, and you're like, hey, yeah, the lights were on. He goes, by the way, I grabbed these cartwheel things you've been working on. You're like, I'm gonna absorb these right away. These like what I saw is absolutely incredible. So you finish like he has like four different books, four different sort of stories that he's drawn out,
Oh, wow. Okay.
and they're great.
Wow.
You send him a message, you're like, man, it's like you never left. It's like you're still killing it with it, and like your voice has only grown to be sharper and you know more precise and like he's like you're really so good at this. And you send him a message, you're like, do you mind if I share these with somebody? And he says, oh, whatever, go ahead. See if anybody else wants to read it, that's fine. So you send it to a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy in the industry, right?
Yeah, and I would include the crazy backstory.
Yeah. You tell him everything, right? You send the whole message. You even CC James on it. You're like, hey, he's attached here. Like, please, like somebody needs to do something with this. And you send like images that you've taken of these, you sent them over, you explain the whole thing, right? You don't hear back for a couple of days. James eventually gets home, the two of you guys hang out, you have a steak together by the fire, and you're just talking about like, man, what if something cool could happen? Just excited for the premise.
Yeah.
James kind of like sips on a beer and chews on the last piece of his steak. He seems happy and he seems content. And he says, Pat, I can't tell you what your encouragement has meant to me and your help trying to see if this is something that I can make of myself. He kind of chuckles. He goes, all these years. He's that motherfucker, Garfield.
He's a piece of shit.
He laughs, takes a swig off of his beer, and he goes, I want you to take a look at something. He goes, would you go to my office?
Yeah, sure.
He goes, I'll meet you in there. So you go inside, you go to his office. His writing desk has a lamp over it. There's like a couple pieces of paper with like a bow on it. You go, what the fuck? You walk up to it and it says for Pat. There's like a little tag. You unwrap it and it's a single piece of paper. It's like it's in glass. Like it's a single sheet. And the first panel shows Don walking into the house. His belt buckle just has a pair of big old boobs on it. Just a big old set of jugs. And
Why?
it's the top it says jug and underneath it says country.
Oh,
So
wow.
so he like kind of walks in smiling and Cartwheel's like, what's the big deal? And Don says, I made a friend today. And pardon me, Cartwheel's like, you made a friend today? He says, how do you make a friend in one day? Don says, I don't know. I just met somebody, thought they were pretty cool. And then the next panel is this cartwheel diatribe of like friendship is a thing that is forged over time and takes failure and conflict. And it's not something that's easy or that you can just sort of fall into. He says those are not real friendships, and those will flame out faster than a candle in the night. He says what you have is something that is not permanent.
What the
Don't set
fuck?
yourself up for failure. And then he slurps a fucking piece of spaghetti down. The next panel is there's like a doorbell and it rings, and Don says, "Oh, he's here." And Cartwheel kind of looks up, and the next panel is you, and he says, "Hey, Cartwheel, this is my friend Pat."
Holy shit.
And then Cartwheel's like, "Friendship," and then it's like cut off, the M dash, and then it's just like the next panel is just like this beautiful image of you smiling, bright-eyed, happy, extending your hand, saying, "Nice to meet you, friend."
What?
Right? And then you get a you get a buzz on your phone, and it's the guy who like is the person that you're pitching Cartwheel to.
Yeah.
He's finally responded, and he says, "This is the most ridiculous, sad." boring pile of shit I've ever seen. He said the animation is incredibly outdated. He goes, even if this was good, and then in parentheses, which it's absolutely not, there's no way we could get this by, the Garfield camp. He says, this is a hard no. And if you ever bring me anything close to this bad, I will never speak to you again. And whoever this artist is should just give up.
Holy shit. Who is this from?
This is from the head of he's like a creative director at a big comic book company.
Which
And you
one?
kind of just it's Lanalax Comics for
Oh,
the
wow.
knowledgeable fan. That's what their tagline is.
Okay. And the editor that said no, or the creative director
Yeah,
is who?
his name is uh Martin Page. He's like a 35-year comic book industry veteran,
Oh,
right?
wow.
He helped discover McFarlane.
Oh, okay.
He's like ushered a lot of talent through the industry,
And he does
in and
not
out.
like,
He does not like it.
oof, dagger.
You're kind of standing there reading this, not even thinking. You hear the footfalls of a man behind you. It's James. He goes, "So, what do you think?" You're holding that comic he made for you in one hand and your phone with a brutal rejection email in the other, knowing it's just moments before he sees it. What do you say?
I do the thing on your phone where you lock it or whatever and put it in my back pocket. And I'm like, this is amazing. Thank you so much. I'm gonna hang this up like right now.
You see
I shake
tears like well up in his eyes.
I shake his hand. I don't know if he's a hugging guy.
You shake his hand. He kind of definitely embraces you for a hug.
Oh, okay, cool. It's
He goes,
nice.
"Thanks, Pat." He goes, "I couldn't have done this without you." He goes, "My journey ends without you." And he's like, "Frankly, I I don't know what I'd do without it." He said, "What would I ever do without drawing again?"
Uh,
You get you hear like a ding. He reaches down into his pocket. He illuminates the screen,
oof.
sees the message, and he goes, "Holy shit!" He responded, and he goes, "Before I open this, Pat," he goes again, "Couldn't have done this without you. Thank you so much for everything."
So before you
And
open that, just know that, this is
he
just one
opens
per
it,
Ugh.
and he opens it, and he like sees it, and he's like you're like reading his lips as he's like reading the words very silently to himself. Tears just sort of like start streaming down his face.
Ugh, yeah.
He looks up at you and he goes, "Well, he doesn't like it." He said it's some of the worst things he's ever seen. He just openly weeps.
Yeah, well, fuck this guy. I mean, this is just
It rings
one guy.
again, and then it says, "Hey Pat." He kind of like he James like reads the email. He goes, "Pat, I know you already saw this. Have you talked to that quotes artist yet?"
What is this guy's problem?
James looks up. He goes, "What? What's he talking about?" He goes, "You already saw this?"
Well, I just saw it right before you came in. Yeah.
He's like, "Pat, why did you didn't tell me?"
I
Because
tried to say before.
you let me get my hopes up.
Well, yeah, but I mean, this is one dude.
And he goes, "What are we gonna do now?"
We can submit to
You
some
get
other people.
There's another email and it says, "Hey guys, I've already spread this all across town. Nobody is gonna touch this pile of shit."
Then we
He,
self-publish it, dude. Who cares?
he's and then he sends one more email. It just says, "Sell your pens."
This guy is a piece of work, man. Don't even
James
if this
James
is
is like having like a panic attack, and he's like, "You did this to me." He
oh
goes, "Are you
no.
kidding me?" He goes, I went through this decades ago. I had put this to bed. He goes, and now I'm down here drawing. He goes, I got rid of everything to satisfy my wife, and now I'm back drawing again. He goes, she wants to leave because of this shit, and now she's definitely out of here.
Oh no.
He just screams, fuck you, at the top of his lungs and turns around and walks out. And he goes, I got something for you.
Oh geez.
What do you do? He like walks away.
We're in my house or his house?
You're at his house.
I run outside. I just
You're in
run
like
home.
his room.
I just
You're
bolt.
you like wind your way through the house, right? You you get out the door, you're running, you're just running, you just hear your footfalls on grass, you hear the door creak behind you, and you just hear a grunt. Ugh. James takes cartwheel off the mantelpiece, and it was 12 o'clock. All of his claws were out, and he just threw them at you like a throwing
Oh,
star, and he like cuts you clean in half.
holy sh! How sharp are these claws?
Dude, they are so fucking sharp. They just rip right through your body, bone, organs. They just cut you right in half. Cartilage,
No.
they just cut
Fuck.
you right in half. Your body gets split in half and like falls into the street, and it gets run over by a Schwann's truck on the last day that they're running that route because they're going out of business. They're going out of business. The guy's got like a couple of like ice cream, like drumstick style things, and like a
Hey,
couple boxes of like mozzarella sticks. And he's
yeah.
just crying. He doesn't know what he's gonna do, and he just runs over both halves of your body right there.
Well, it's already dead, so what does it matter, I guess? Ah,
Yeah.
fuck. We could have, there were so many other options that we could have pursued. We could have self-published it. We could have done, what a
But
bummer. All
he
right.
and his wife, actually they drag your body, the parts of your body from the street, and they work together to dispose of it in a way that rekindles the flame in their marriage.
Oh, okay. Well, at least there's
Yeah.
that.
They chop your body up in the day
Fuck them
room.
both.
They bag it and they throw it into like landfills all over the city. And they get away with it. Once they dispose of your head somewhere outside of Denton, they stop at a Whataburger, they eat in total silence, and then they just go fuck in the back of a Suburban. Like they were 19 again. But you're spread out in trash mounds all over the fucking state.
Dang, man. Ah, there were so many other things we could have done. God
Yeah.
damn it.
Yeah, but the closet cartwheel got you.
That they did.
Yeah.